How to fix FSR3 frame generation vehicle ghosting. Welcome back to Teknobalta. If you are experiencing a distracting trailing effect behind your vehicle while driving at high speeds, you have encountered the infamous AMD FSR3 frame generation ghosting anomaly. At Teknobalta, we analyzed this visual artifact extensively and found that enabling AMD FSR3 to boost frame rates can cause previous frames to leave a visible trail during fast motion. Today, we will guide you through the exact technical steps to eliminate this vehicle ghosting and optimize your game for maximum visual clarity. We confirmed that this trailing effect is an inherent disadvantage of how FSR3 operates. The technology generates intermediate frames by tracking pixel data and object motion vectors in real time. When rendering fast-moving vehicles, the algorithmic calculation often fails to update the pixel data rapidly enough. This delay results in the ghosting artifact, where the trace of the previous frame remains visible on the screen. Our team also noted that activating FSR introduces noticeable input latency. Furthermore, upscaling technologies like FSR and DLSS are not perfectly optimized for this specific game port, meaning DLSS might barely provide any tangible frame rate increase. The most direct solution to eliminate this visual smearing is to disable the frame generation feature entirely. Navigate to your in-game display settings and toggle the AMD FSR3 frame generation option to the off position. Disabling ray tracing simultaneously can drastically reduce the computational load on your graphics card. This ensures your GPU can focus entirely on rendering raw frames without the overhead of complex lighting calculations. If you utilize an Nvidia graphics card, we recommend switching your upscaling method from FSR to DLSS and setting it to quality mode. During our testing, this specific configuration provided a slightly superior and more stable visual output compared to FSR. If turning off FSR drops your frame rate too much, you must rely on native graphical adjustments instead of upscaling. We verified that lowering shadow quality is one of the most effective ways to instantly regain lost frames. Next, navigate to your environmental settings and significantly reduce the grass quality. Rendering dense foliage requires massive processing power, and lowering this setting yields a substantial performance boost. You should also lower the extended distance scaling slider. This dictates how far high-resolution geometry is rendered, and minimizing it will drastically increase your overall frame rate without relying on FSR. Ensure your in-game refresh rate perfectly matches your monitor native specifications. Mismatched refresh rates exacerbate frame generation artifacts and can make ghosting appear much worse during high-speed driving. Disable in-game VSync and force it globally through your graphics card control panel. Handling vertical sync at the driver level ensures smoother frame pacing and prevents screen tearing that disrupts. Activate Nvidia Reflex or AMD Radeon anti-lag, depending on your hardware architecture. These technologies reduce the render queue depth, thereby minimizing the input delay that typically accompanies frame generation techniques. Always run the game in exclusive full-screen mode rather than windowed borderless. This gives the application direct control over the display output, reducing background rendering conflicts and improving frame time consistency. Completely disable the in-game motion blur setting. Artificial blurring compounds with FSR3 ghosting, creating a messy visual output that makes vehicle tracking almost impossible. Turn off the depth of field effect in your advanced graphics menu. This removes unnecessary post-processing filters that blur the background, allowing the upscaler to work with cleaner pixel data. Set Anisotropic filtering to 16x directly within your graphics driver control panel while disabling the in-game setting. This forces maximum texture clarity at oblique angles, helping the frame generator track road textures more accurately. Ensure your texture quality is set to high or very high, provided you have sufficient RAM. Frame generation algorithms require high-resolution base textures to accurately predict and generate the intermediate frames without artifacting. Corrupted shader caches can cause severe micro-stuttering that desynchronizes frame generation timing. Navigate to your local app data directory and delete the temporary DirectX shader cache files to force a clean recompilation. Verify that hardware-accelerated GPU scheduling is enabled in your Windows graphics settings. This feature allows the graphics card to manage its own memory, which is a strict requirement for modern frame generation technologies to function properly. Turn on Windows Game Mode in your system settings. This pauses background updates and prioritizes system resources for your active application, preventing CPU spikes that can interrupt frame generation tracking. To maintain peak system stability, we highly recommend running a system integrity check using the Windows command prompt. Simply open the command prompt as an administrator and type sfc/scannow to automatically repair any corrupted core operating system files. Finally, always perform a clean installation of your graphics card drivers using the Display Driver Uninstaller utility. Installing the latest driver packages ensures you have the most up-to-date optimizations and bug fixes for upscaling technologies. Don't forget to follow Teknobalta for more.